This is the Milo Beasley Show. This is the Milo Beasley Show. There's only one thing you need to know. This is the Milo Beasley Show. And now, here's your host, Milo Beasley.
And welcome to the Milo Beasley Show, episode number 368. It's the beginning of March. Here's the first week of March, and that means one thing, and that means baseball. So please help me welcome at this time. You know him as Tommy Timmons from the Sandlot. Please help me welcome Shane Obedzinski. How are you doing, man?
What's up? How are you? Good. Thanks for having me, man.
I'm doing great. Did I get your name okay? Was I close?
Honestly, it went right in one ear out the other. It sounded normal. So many people mess it up. So anything,
I didn't butcher it. That's the most important thing, right?
Right. It sounded normal, so A+.
Again, thanks so much for coming on and chatting a little with me here. This beginning of March, man.
It's weird. And let me say real quick, I'm digging your shirt, man.
Oh, thanks. I got the Wendy Peppercorn up here. She's hanging out in the Beast.
I'll see her again in a couple months from now, man. We're getting together out in Philly, I think. I'm not sure, actually.
That's fantastic. So where are you now? Are you in Brandon?
I'm in Brandon, technically, yeah. I say Tampa because more people know Tampa, but
I was born and raised in Brandon, so very familiar with the area. Well, okay, I'll say I was born and raised in Sethner, more like it.
I'm familiar with that place as well. I mean, it's across 60. You know,
right, exactly. So, it's good to have another. So, are you Florida raised, or are you?
I've been here my whole life. Yeah.
Fantastic! It's great to have another Floridian born and raised here. Not too many of us are still living here, man.
No, the sun either makes us all go crazy and we leave, or we're all from somewhere else, which is awkward.
There's so many. People are like, "Oh, you're from Florida?" Yes, I'm from. Where else? But everybody else is far away. From wherever else. All these plants. So we're sitting here. It's beginning of March, 2023. We're on the precipice, the verge of the 30th anniversary of Sandlot.
Crazy, man.
Does it seem like 30 years? And two, did you think that you would be, talking about the Sandlot here 30 years later?
Not at all. I mean, it doesn't seem like 30 years. The last 10, we've been doing big reunions every 5 years. So this one, we've got a big summer ahead of us. So it seems a little more realistic, but looking back at the big picture, 30 years, no way, man. I still feel like a teenager. And to still be representing this now, 30 years later, is pretty wild. We would have never thought that. It's pretty cool.
Absolutely. So how old were you when you were cast?
I turned 10 while filming.
10 while filming. So how did you audition? And then did you have to play baseball to show that you were functional, I guess, during the audition as well?
No, not during the audition, actually. What they were more worried about was baseball was always secondary. It was more, let's get a group of kids together who look and act like they're best friends. So me being in Tampa, I auditioned in Miami, drove out there, and then did the audition, came back. Back then it was all like fax machines and things like that, so it wasn't as simple as it was now. And then I got back home, had a voicemail that said I need a call back the next day. So considering the drive, the 5-hour drive to Miami from here, we just got back in the car and drove back out there, did the audition, didn't hear about it for weeks. So I thought I didn't get the job, and that's fine. It happened a lot back then. And then I got a phone call randomly about a month later that said, get on the plane tomorrow, you're going to LA. And I met with 100 other boys at a place called the Sportsman's Lodge in LA. And they narrowed us down one by one to make what they thought was the best looking group of kids. And that's it. Yeah.
That's incredible. Like that.
It was rough. It was rough.
Tomorrow, go.
Yeah. So I mean, I was excited, of course, but when you got there, you see 100 other kids who are doing the same thing you're trying to do. So it was.
Right.
You wake up the next morning, and if you're still there, some of the people you saw the day before weren't there. So little by little, it got down to 50 kids, 20 kids, 9 kids.
Right. Wow, that's incredible. So were you at least proficient in baseball? Did you play little league?
No, I've been acting since I was 3. So I was always homeschooled. I didn't really have a lot of opportunity to do sports, which was fine. Once they cast us, they put us in baseball camp for like 2 or 3 weeks. And that's when we got the, whatever you want to call it, that we had, the kind of chops we had.
Right.
And that was it. The rest was just them really wanting kids who were friends.
Right.
And I think that's part of the secret of why the movie was so successful and still successful, because people relate to it. We actually look like we belong there in a weird way.
So did you, so before the movie started shooting, were you all just were you put in a situation, in scenarios where, hey, you're just going to hang out for a couple weeks and become friends?
Kind of, yeah. All of us read for different parts throughout the couple weeks while we were there. And then I remember them kind of just hanging around while we hung around, like to see what people looked like they were friends and what was happening. And I know the guy who ended up playing Bertram was originally reading for Squints. I read for Smalls for a little bit, and then they wanted someone older. We all just read every day. We would go in there and say, hey, you're going to do this kid today. And then we would be that kid. And they narrowed it down and filtered it out to who we were and how we were. And yeah, it was weird.
That's incredible. And the journey that it's taken you over these years, and
it won't stop, man.
The opportunities that you've gotten over the years to be out there, on the field at Dodger Stadium, at stadiums all over the country. I mean, when did you realize that it wasn't just a movie, that it was a part of people?
That's a good question, man. I actually kind of remember the moment where it kind of clicked. After the movie came out, we did the press tour and whatnot, and then we all went on to different things. The movie was successful, but not immediately amazing. So we all kind of forgot about it. So as we're approaching the 20th anniversary, which we didn't even think would be celebrated, around 18, 19 years, I was going to the mall like every other kid. And I started seeing shirts with me on them. Started seeing socks and lanyards and all this stuff. Like Spencer's was loaded with the Sandlot section. It was bizarre. And I'm like, what the hell is going on? Why is this a big deal? And then I start, the internet's becoming more dominant. So we're starting to look it up, and there's a whole thing about this film. So they called us for the 20th anniversary and said, yeah, it's like one of the most successful home theater releases of all time, blah, blah, blah. And we went on a little celebration tour, and people came out literally every stop by the thousands. And we were just looking around like, where did this come from? What's going on? And that's kind of when it clicked that what we were a part of was way bigger than what we expected. And it hasn't stopped since. The 25th anniversary was even bigger and better and crazier. And now we're at 30, man.
So how much of that merchandise with your face on it do you have?
We're waiting for me to get my little Pop Funko thing, which I believe will be this year. But that's the only thing I'm really excited to get. I've got like a couple T-shirts and stuff. One of my good friends every year buys me either a shirt or a DVD of the Sandlot for Christmas, just because he's a jerk. And so I have a weird collection of Sandlot stuff, and then of course my own personal stuff from the sets and whatnot.
Yeah. So did you? I mean, I know I talked to people who were in movies, 10, 20, 30 years ago, never thought to keep things from sets, but now it's the cool thing to do. Were you able to keep your glove, bat? What were you able to keep anything?
No. The only thing, the back of like the director's chairs that have your name on it and stuff, we all kept that because it had our name on it. And then I know some of the other boys were a little smarter than me and took random little things from the treehouse and whatnot. I didn't take anything. When we went back for the 20th anniversary, we went to the Sandlot, and they had a party on the Sandlot in Utah. They recreated the whole set, the field, the backdrop, all that stuff. It was fantastic. And one of the weird things about the movie, the treehouse, the tree that it was in, had been moved from another spot in Utah and put in the ground and lost all its leaves. So all the leaves on the tree were actually vinyl. They were all fake. So we're digging around the ground, just kicking it up, hanging over there talking. And we all look down and we see the vinyl leaves still there at that point 20 years later. And I'd bet my life there's still more there now. So I took a bunch of the vinyl leaves that we found on the ground from 20 years earlier at that point.
That's, oh my gosh.
That's my favorite thing I got from the movie now, because not many people can say they have the leaves, which is a weird thing to have, but I like it.
You can make your own tree of life at Animal Kingdom.
Oh man, that'd be awesome.
So obviously you're doing a bunch of reunions and convention appearances with a lot of the cast. Had you kept in touch with a lot of the cast, or was it not up until the reunions that you got to reconnect?
Some of the boys stayed in contact. Most of them were West Coast and LA, so it made more sense. I didn't talk to any of them until about the 19th year, as we were getting word that we're going to plan this 20th anniversary party. Right. And that was really cool to get back with them. And ironically, now we get asked this a lot, actually. We talk every day. Pretty much every day the last 10 years, we have a ridiculous group chat with all of us in it. And we're always hanging out together. I mean, I would say it rarely goes a month where at least 2 or 3 of us aren't together somewhere.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
That's great. And I'm sure you've been asked a bunch of times, so I'm just going to go ahead and ask once more. Has there been any rumblings? A League of Their Own just got a television series. Has there been any rumblings of like either a reboot or a sequel, like a TV series on Netflix, Hulu, any of these? Have you heard anything about that?
I don't know if you're asking because you really know.
I don't.
If you don't, you're welcome to Google Sandlot TV show. And right before COVID hit, they announced that we will be doing a Sandlot TV show that takes place in the 80s with us and our kids. And COVID slowed the production on that down. Well, actually stopped it entirely. Right. And from what I hear, we're going to be revving that engine back up pretty soon. And there will be some sort of show with us and our kids back at. I've seen the script. We've been to LA. We did the table read. The script is incredible. And then COVID happened, hit the brakes. And soon is what they keep telling me. Just be ready, be ready. So we're all kind of waiting.
That's incredible. Are you a baseball fan to this day now?
Nope.
No.
That's the weirdest thing that people get out by it, because they're like, oh, okay, what's your favorite team? What's your, I never really liked baseball. I love and respect baseball, and being a part of it has taught me a lot about what baseball is really about, which is, I guess, why it's called America's pastime. It's a weird sport. But being in Tampa, man, the Rays aren't easy to love, and I've fallen in love with the Tampa Bay Lightning a little bit.
Oh,
so
absolutely.
That's easy. So it's great.
Opening day's coming up for the Rays. I will be there, but man, hockey has just been, it's insane. Like, trying to get tickets to a Lightning game is insane.
or very expensive.
Well, yes, that yeah, very, very, very expensive. Now going back, when like you said, you were 10 years old, and you said you started acting when you were 3. Is that what you always wanted to be? Did you want to be an actor when you were a child?
Not necessarily. I remember my first job I got, it was a Kool-Aid commercial. And I remember being like, oh, this is cool. But I going through school and stuff, I would still say I wanted to be, the basic stuff. I wanted to be a doctor, all that dumb stuff you say. And once I got maybe 8 or 9, when I started doing a bunch of movies back to back, I was like, hey, this is kind of a thing that I should maybe be doing. And that's kind of where it clicked, where all the other stuff went out the window. And that was kind of going to be my focus in some capacity, or at least in the entertainment field in some way. And that's,
Right, in the entertainment field.
That's
Now,
where it's kicked off.
I am a big Golden Girls fan, and there's an episode. One of my favorite episodes features Mr. Burt Reynolds, and you got to work with Burt Reynolds on Cop and a Half. What was it? What was it like? Well, did you understand his stardom when you met him, and then what was it like hanging out with him or working with him?
Great question again, man. I didn't understand right away. My parents, especially my dad, was like, yo, that's Burt Reynolds. You're going to be doing this. And I'm like, cool. I don't care. You meet him, obviously very cool guy. It's one of those things where like the dictionary should have a picture of him next to the word cool, because it's that he's cool, man. We did the film. It was great. A lot of fun. He was actually planning to do a baseball film back then as well. So myself and a bunch of other kids got invited to his ranch out in Hollywood, Florida. So we finished filming Cop and a Half, and we went out to Burt Reynolds' ranch, and we were playing baseball, having a good time. And he was in the process of making a baseball film. And honestly, I don't think it ever got made. He was, I think, funding it, or there was something weird about it that he wanted to be a big part of it. And it fell off the table. But I got to hang out with him at his house even more so than the set. And that's when I realized, this guy's big time. This is the real deal. This is Burt Reynolds. This is why my dad was happy. So
Right.
It was at that point I realized I was kicking it with someone special.
Absolutely. And so to be able to have that memory, I'm sure is one that you will definitely cherish forever.
For sure. It was a little sad when he left us. It was he was cool, man. Good dude.
I can't help but notice, of course, Figment sitting behind you.
I actually, no joke, man. I put that there for you.
Oh,
Well, when you emailed me originally, I was like, all right, let me look this guy up real quick. I noticed you were in Orlando, did Disney runs and things like that, and I was like, I don't even know if this guy knows I'm in Florida. So I'm going to put a little Figment right there just to see what happens. So yeah. I'm a big Epcot fan. Big
Epcot fan. The Flower and Garden Festival just started up.
It did, yeah.
And I don't know if you're excited, but they announced at D23 last year that there was going to be a return of a Figment meet and greet character.
If it's that big one from like the 90s or whatever, I'll pass on that.
You'll pass?
I liked him when the Dreamfinder's holding him.
Right.
The one where he was like full size, like bigger than me. I don't want my Figment being that big walking around. I like the Dreamfinder walking around, holding him. That would be cool.
So I have to ask, were you able to get your hands on a Figment popcorn bucket?
Yes, but not the first time around. Second time around. I got it a couple weeks ago, actually.
Oh,
for the Arts Festival.
That's fantastic, fantastic. So, the Epcot is your. So, let's rank the Disney parks of your favorite. So, Epcot would be number 1 then.
Man, this is the tables have turned, man. This is the really hard questions now. I would say Epcot's number 1. We share a birthday, not the exact date, but we both turned 40 at the same time, or whatever. And I I got some weird, crazy memories growing up going to Epcot, man. And that's, and it still hasn't changed dramatically. It's changing a lot right now, but not too much in the World Showcase section. So going there, it's good memories, man. Magic Kingdom's easily second. After that, it's a toss-up. Wasn't a big fan of Hollywood Studios until maybe the last 5 years or so.
Oh, okay.
Now I'm a bigger fan of it than I was when I was younger. I know a lot of the purists hated that they got rid of Honey, I Shrunk the Kids and the tram tour and all that stuff, but I'm okay with that. And Animal Kingdom is just, easily the prettiest park they have. It's jaw dropping.
You said you weren't a fan until like the past couple of years of studios. Did the addition of Star Wars have anything to do with that?
It did, but mostly it was just them kind of getting rid of some of that fluff they had. Like I didn't care for the Lights Motor Action show.
Top of the fluff.
Yeah, it was just kind of like it felt like there was nothing to do there. And now if you read online, everyone's like, "Oh, it's not a day park anymore. There's nothing to do. They got rid of all the fun stuff." And I'm just thinking like, no, man. Maybe the lines might be longer, but like there's so much to do there. I actually won't even care when they get rid of the animation section in the corner. They need to make that something else too. But
back to Epcot, I'm assuming you've done Guardians.
Oh yes, a couple times.
What's your favorite Guardians song on there?
Both times I've done it, I've gotten Everyone Wants to Rule the World.
Okay.
So I haven't experienced anything else but those two songs.
The only one I haven't gotten Conga yet, and I've heard that's the best.
That might be, yeah. Especially when it kicks you off behind, when it really kicks in. Yeah, that could be good.
Yeah, that ride is pretty much like anything. Have you? Is that the best ride at Disney at this point?
No, in my opinion.
Okay.
Maybe if you weren't counting Rise of the Resistance, and I'm not even saying that from a Star Wars fan's perspective, right. But man, the technology on that, how it puts you in there. I'm sorry?
It's so immersive.
Massively.
You feel like you're there.
Right. And I love that. Before that and Guardians, they had so many good rides, I don't even know.
I have my AP reservation for the AP preview for Tron coming up this weekend.
I got the email. I didn't even try to get on there. I just knew it was going to be difficult.
It was extreme. I think I waited 4 hours in the virtual queue.
Yeah.
It was, but I got it. So
good. I'm hearing it's a little short, but whatever, man. It looks awesome. It's cool,
Do you find yourself at either any of the other Central Florida parks, whether it's Busch Gardens, right there in Tampa, SeaWorld, Universal?
I haven't been to SeaWorld in years and years and years. I used to go to Universal all the time. Like I loved it. And honestly, when they started focusing on Harry Potter and they started changing Universal, getting rid of Jaws and adding Transformers and Jimmy Fallon, I just kind of thought that they just took a lazy route in making some content to get people in there, and it's paying off for them.
Right.
But for me, it's just last time I went to Universal Studios was for Halloween Horror Nights, and the next time I go will probably be Halloween Horror Nights.
Man, I love Halloween Horror Nights. Have you seen the first leaked speculation map?
I have not. Should I?
It depends on what you like, but it looks pretty good.
As long as they have at least half of original houses, I'll be fine.
Yeah, it's about 50-50.
Perfect. Then I'm happy.
Well, but it also depends on if you consider Universal Monsters IP or original.
That's a good one. They had the Universal Monsters
They've had it for
last year.
4 years now. They've seen that they can do some really good things with it, and they're very popular. So they're just milking it for all it's worth. I think this year
they got to let people know that it's a thing they have, because if the rumors are true, they're making the Monsters Land at Epic Universe. So maybe that's why they're pushing it to get people more familiar with it.
Monsters Cafe.
Yeah, that's gone.
The Minions, which I don't even want to talk about.
I didn't even like it when they got rid of Hanna-Barbera and put Jimmy Neutron there.
Right.
But I get it. I just, yeah.
Now you actually got to work on the Universal lot, right? When you were younger?
Before Islands of Adventure was made, I did the TV show Swamp Thing. And they made an actual swamp set outdoors in Florida. And I kind of went back there after Islands was made with a friend of mine, and we were looking, and we think the actual swamp was like right where the port of entry is.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so that we used to, all that was just parking lot and studios and whatnot, and the swamp we think was right where port of entry is. But nonetheless, yeah, I did Matinee there, a film with John Goodman. So we did. I used to do a bunch of stuff at Universal growing up, and when I wasn't filming, they would just say, "All right, you're done for the day. If you want, just go in the park, and here's a pass." So I would make my mom walk around with me the rest of the day, do Ghostbusters 20 times in a row, all that stuff. It was good time.
That's fantastic. And now to be that, is it, so you've done, both studio and, just out in the open, baseball field. Do you have a preference of location? Do you like working in a studio, like a working studio where there's people all around, there's a buzz?
A working studio is fantastic because the environment is controlled. If it's hot or raining, you don't have to stop anything. In an inside studio, especially for Florida, that was ideal because it's so hot in the summertime. But there is something special about being, depending on what you're trying to film, being out there, really getting involved with that, and all that's cool. Most of my stuff has actually been in a controlled studio, except for Sandlot. When I did My Girl, that was an old hotel kind of house thing,
right?
So it's a good mix, but a controlled environment to get the job done is sometimes safest, quickest, sanest.
So I have to ask that you had your entertainment career. What sparked starting up your own pizza joint?
It's weird, man. My first real job that wasn't doing acting and stuff, I was a pizza delivery guy in Brandon here, and I just my parents made me get a job, so I was like, cool, I'll deliver pizzas, whatever. So I did that, learned the industry a little bit, and that was an easy job to have through my 20s when I was doing other stuff. I used to be in a band and we would go on tour and stuff, so that was an easy job just to come back to and deliver pizza. My current business partner, I met up with him at a pizza shop, and we clicked it off, and we had an opportunity to kind of take over an old spot that has been abandoned. And we were like, oh man, that sounds terrible. Who the hell would want to do that? And then he's like, well, us? And I'm like, oh, us. And that was almost 13 years ago. So we opened our own pizza shop, and it's a fun little spot, a little bar, little pizza spot. It's doing well, and it's giving me something to do when I'm not elsewhere. It's been really, really good to me.
Is it hard not to be 400 pounds when owning a pizza joint?
It's hard not to be 400 pounds in America, anywhere these days,
Right.
Especially hard when you're standing there half a day making dough and cutting cheese. And so it's got its challenges besides being a business.
Right. And you're there, you're hands-on in all aspects of the
I'm there almost every day, even if it's for 3 or 4 hours, unless I'm out of town. Like next weekend, I'll be in Utah for a couple days. So yeah, every day I'm almost there, and we make our dough from scratch. We cut our cheese. It's very hands-on, and it's how we like it, man. We're not trying to be the biggest pizza shop in the world or the biggest one in Tampa. We're just doing our thing, man, and it's working out really well.
That sounds fantastic. It's and the name, it's Times Square Pizza.
Times Square Pizza Company, right in Brandon here. Yeah.
Yeah. So if you're getting hungry, it's almost WrestleMania time. So
There
if
it is.
you need some pizza for WrestleMania night, hit up Shane
Do
at
it.
Times Square Pizza.
Do it.
What's your are you into wrestling?
I'm not, man.
No?
Being in Florida, it seems like it would be the most logical thing to be a part of.
Absolutely.
Hogan's like what, 30 minutes for me in Clearwater. Like I just never really got into wrestling. It's weird. Like sometimes people ask me like, oh, what'd you think of the other 90s films that were super popular? Not Mighty Ducks, Rookie of the Year. And me and the Mighty Ducks guys, we get together all the time. We do events together and whatnot. I've never seen Mighty Ducks. I've never seen Rookie of the Year all the way through. And I never got into some of the 90s stuff that I felt like I should have. And my excuse back then was like, well, I don't even know why. But now I realize it's because I didn't have time.
Right.
That's when I was working on my projects the most. And then when I got my own time, it was, 2000 and I was watching The Matrix, So I just didn't have time to watch all that stuff. So I never got into wrestling, never saw some of the other classic films that I was supposed to see. And I will one day, especially the Mighty Ducks. Those boys mess with me all the time. You got to see our film, man. Okay, I will.
They're gonna like tie you to a chair, make you want like
put it on.
Vincent or Alex the Vincent on what is it, Clockwork Orange?
Oh my God, my eyes will be bleeding and everything. I love it.
So the next thing I want to do here is a segment on the show called the Milo Beasley Show Frequently Asked Questions. I'm going to ask you a series of 5 questions. These are going to be the same 5 questions that I asked every guest on the show. There's really no wrong or right. Well, I guess they're right answers because there's no wrong answers. So are you ready?
I feel like I've been preparing for this my whole life.
All right. Question number 1. What was the first concert you ever attended?
My first concert was New Kids on the Block. I don't think I'm proud to say that. But it was New Kids on the Block out in St. Petersburg. It was a big deal back then. I got dragged into it with my mom and my sister because I couldn't stay home alone. That was my first concert. My first real concert that I wanted to go to myself, I think, was Metallica at the Ice Palace.
Oh, that's quite the jump.
Quite the change and quite the upgrade.
Question number 2. Do you believe in ghosts?
Absolutely.
Have you had some? I've never had like an experience or anything. Have you had a sighting or?
It's weird. Actually, we was just talking about this the other day with some friends. There's a hotel in Albuquerque, New Mexico, that's famous for being haunted. And there's actually been one of those ghost hunter shows have been there, all that stuff. We stayed in that hotel 2 years ago for a Comic-Con. And I remember everyone's in our group, we all had like hotel rooms in a row. Everyone's phone rang at 3 a.m. And the next morning we were like, dude, did you call us or whatever? And we went to the front desk and he was like, it just happens, man. And we were like, oh, and then we learned that it's the haunted place. And maybe that was my experience.
What does he mean? It just happens.
He goes, it just happens. And like, it was normal to him. Like it's okay. Maybe he's playing it up as the haunted hotel, but we Googled it. We looked into it. There's weird stuff. And then after that, we were there for, I think, 4 days. After that, everything just seemed different. I don't know if we were heightened because we thought we were seeing ghosts or anything, but everything just seemed different. So I'd like to think there was some kind of thing around me then. But besides that, no, but I still believe, man.
Did your phones go off at any other point randomly?
No, just that one night, everyone's phone in our group at like 3 or 4 a.m. And the next morning, we all had the same story. Who called us? And nope, wasn't me. So that's the closest I got.
That's creepy.
It's good.
All right. So a twist on a common question. In a movie about your life, who would play your parents?
My dad could be Bryan Cranston, not because he looks like him, But I think back in the days of Malcolm in the Middle, how that weird, goofy, fun but serious dad could pull off. My dad could do that.
Right.
My mom, man, she's a tricky one. I don't know, Barbara Streisand.
Okay.
Just a fun actor who could do both crazy and cool, because every parent's got that little bit of
Right.
little bit of both. So there you go. That'd be my odd parents group. Don't even know why.
I like it. Question number 4. Who is your favorite person to follow on social media?
The Milo Beasley Show.
I'll take it. I'll take it.
I will follow you now that I've said that, because now I don't want to be a liar. My favorite person to follow on social media. The Eve 6 guy. If you're familiar with the band Eve 6.
I am.
He's turned into some kind of weird Twitter guy that is fascinating to read his rants and weird stuff sometimes. He's very political and funny and always works music into it. And that was, besides film, that's my other real love is music. So I love following that dude. Every day is something entertaining.
Dude, I have to go. I will have to go and check that out now. I'll have to go.
Yeah, it's bizarre, but it's good.
And then my favorite question to ask, and I'm super interested in yours, is whether you clearly have a lot of experiences, 40 years worth, but whether it was on set, whether it was, at a especially at a convention, in the green room, at a table next to you, on a baseball field, have you had that one fanboy moment where you saw somebody and you either couldn't speak or you spoke way too much and made a fool of yourself?
I'm gonna say almost. I'm gonna say no, because I've always kind of felt, I don't know. I'm gonna say no because I just haven't met anyone yet that puts me there. But I was in the running to be in Hook with Robin Williams.
Right.
And I got called back a couple times. And I remember I was one reading away from reading with Robin Williams. And I remember wanting to get that job so bad because Robin Williams was a hero of mine and still is. And I didn't get the last call back to read with him, which hopefully would have gotten me the role. And I remember being devastated because all I wanted to do was meet Robin Williams. And I think at one point he was even on the other side of the door from me. I think we were literally that close, and all I wanted to do was meet him, and I never got to meet him. And that would have been I don't even know how I would have reacted. Being a 10, 11-year-old boy, meeting him, I might have died. Who knows?
Oh man, so close, man. I feel like the pain myself, like of being so close. And
I know I wanted it so bad, man. But
so before we wrap up, a few things. So where is your next appearance? Your next comic pop culture convention appearance?
Me and a couple of the boys are going to be in Utah, I think in 2 weeks.
Okay.
There's a company we're working with all through the summer that's taken us to different spots in America. I believe they're called Hollywood on Broadway. And they're going to be playing the movie,
right,
in like a cool little theater type setting. And then afterwards, we're going to have a Q&A, and we got some cool merchandise and stuff. So that's an ongoing thing all summer. I know we're trying to get, and I'm going to ask you about this off recording, but we're trying to get some megacons and some of the bigger stuff like that, but haven't had a whole lot of luck. And I know you know some people.
I do.
But
no promises though, but
Oh, no. I mean, even a proper email would help. But no, we've got some big cons we haven't announced yet for this summer. And the end of summer, if you feel like following me on social media, it's simply my name, Shane Obedzinski, for anyone who wants to listen or check it out. But the end of summer, there's a extremely big event happening that I'm not allowed to say anything about yet, but it will probably get national attention. And that's what we're most focusing on right now. And besides that, we'll be everywhere. I think I'm in New Hampshire and Boston in a couple weeks after that, and everywhere. Yeah, it's gonna be fun.
That's awesome. Best of luck, and definitely, it's. Have you? Have you? Are you just continuously blown away by the love that you get and that the movie gets? Again, here we are, a month away from the 30th anniversary, and it's like it's not just a movie; it's people's lives. There's merchandise, there's everything around it, and baseball is obviously it's America's pastime, but the feeling when people come to you at your tables.
It's I hate to sound cliche or compare it to any other group of people who are in a similar situation, but I feel we have the best fans, and everyone says that, but I have a real good reason why. Because our fan base is 8-year-old kids to 70-year-old men. And that is so satisfying. You get the kids that dress up as you and they come to your table. They love the film, anywhere from 8 to 30,
Right.
And you get those older people who and they don't care about your autograph. They don't care about a picture, but they want to tell you a story. Hey man, that movie, that scene you did was what me and my friends did. And several occasions they tell me how it reminds them of a better time in their life, how it reminds them of their friends, some of them have passed at that age. And they just have this moment with you about how that movie literally is their world, and they connect with it on a deep level. And that is dramatically satisfying. And we get that everywhere we go. Hundreds of people come, but we get all age groups, and they all have a story about what the movie means to them. It's not like Iron Man where they just love it because he's cool on film and it's Robert Downey Jr. or whatever. But this has been with them for 30 years, and it's deep, and that's so satisfying to share that with people all over the world.
I can't imagine, everybody played Little League baseball, so
Right.
so you have that connection, and you mentioned people coming up to you and talking about scenes. Of course, before we go, I do have to ask, how amazing, how fun was the carnival scene? Was it at a carnival that was already set up, or did they build it for the movie?
There was a little carnival in town that weekend. I'm sure that's why they planned the shoot around that. So we did a night shoot there to do that one ride,
right,
all night. And of course, that sounds really cool until you do it all night. And then it's terrible. I remember the director asked all of us individually, one-on-one, if we were scared to go on the ride. And if we were, we could skip the scene, no big deal. And we were all obviously into it. But I just remember doing that all night. And at one point I was like, I should have told him I was scared. But that scene was a lot of fun.
Do you have any other memorable scenes that will stand out to you for the rest of time?
There's one scene, and just recently people have actually started catching it in the film that me and the boys thought we were the only cool people to ever notice it. If you pay attention, when the other team, the team we end up having a fight with,
right,
comes on the field, me and our crew, we kind of like turn to them and start walking toward them like we're all tough.
Right.
And Squints has his glove and he throws it on the ground in anger, like, come on, boys. And we're all walking up, and the glove does this insane bounce and hits me right in the crotch. And I catch it, and I hold it for a brief moment, like, I don't even know what I was thinking. Like, what just happened? And I let it go. And then we all just keep walking and do the scene. But it's kind of in the background, and it's hard to see. But for so long, we were like, I can't believe that happened. I can't believe that's the shot they went with. We did that scene 100 times, and that's the one they go with. And just recently, people are like, the thing with the glove, was that on purpose? And we're like, no, absolutely not. So whenever that scene comes up, I always have to watch it because it's unbelievable. It bounces perfectly, it hits me, and we move on.
And on that note, we're going to move on here. Shane, thank you so much for chatting with me today. I thoroughly enjoyed it. So hopefully you did as well.
I did very much. Thank you, man.
Thank
It's
you,
always
everyone.
good to talk about Disney too, man.
That's all I would. There's a little movie that you were in, but I would talk for hours about Disney. Absolutely.
Being in Central Florida and talking to someone else who knows what they're talking about when it comes to that, it's a pleasure.
And thank you all for watching or listening as well, wherever you're doing that. If you haven't already, of course, hit that subscribe button. And most importantly, tell your friends. And happy opening day of baseball. And we'll see you next week.
Thanks, guys.